A grizzly bear weighing 800 pounds charges at full speed toward a polar bear twice its size, who walks away alive. Most people think they know the answer, but the reality of bear versus bear combat will shatter everything you believe about nature's ultimate predators. The shocking truth is that size doesn't determine the winner in these epic battles. And the bear species you'd least expect might just be the deadliest fighter of them all. Here's what blew my mind: polar bears aren't actually the kings of the bear world in a fight. Despite being the largest land carnivore on Earth, weighing up to 500 pounds with paws the size of dinner plates, they'd likely lose to a grizzly bear in most encounters. Why? Because polar bears are evolutionary specialists built for hunting seals on ice, not wrestling other apex predators on solid ground. Grizzlies are pure muscle and rage compressed into a furry wrecking ball. Their shoulder hump isn't just for show, it's a massive muscle complex called the neutral ridge that gives them bone-crushing power no other bear possesses. When a grizzly swipes, it's delivering 25,000 pounds of force per square inch. That's enough to decapitate a full-grown moose with one hit, or send a 200-pound man flying 20 feet through the air. But wait, there's a twist in this story that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about bear hierarchy. Black bears, the supposed weaklings of North America, have actually killed more grizzlies in documented fights than anyone expected. How is this even possible when they're outweighed by 400 pounds? Speed, agility, and pure cunning. While grizzlies lumber around like furry tanks, black bears move like 300-pound ninjas, striking vital points and retreating before their bigger cousins can react. Now here's where it gets really wild. The most dangerous bear encounter isn't what you think. Scientists tracking bear conflicts across North America discovered something that defied all expectations. The deadliest scenario isn't facing a massive male polar bear in the Arctic or an enraged grizzly guarding its territory. It's a 200-pound black bear mother with cubs nearby. Her maternal desperation transforms her into something absolutely lethal. Let me paint you the brutal reality of what actual bear combat looks like. In Yellowstone National Park, researchers witnessed an epic 20-minute battle between a grizzly and black bear fighting over an elk carcass. The black bear, outweighed by 400 pounds, used guerrilla warfare tactics that would make military strategists jealous. It darted in to slash the grizzly's legs and hindquarters, then retreated before the larger bear could mount a counterattack. After 20 grueling minutes of this hit-and-run torture, the exhausted grizzly finally gave up and walked away. The smaller bear won through pure strategy and endurance. But there's one bear species that dominates them all in close quarters combat, and it's not what you'd expect. The sun bear of Southeast Asia weighs only 150 pounds soaking wet, making it the smallest bear species on the planet. Yet pound for pound, it's arguably the most vicious and effective fighter in the entire bear kingdom. Their claws are proportionally longer than any other bears. Imagine 4-inch switchblades attached to each paw. Their jaw strength relative to body size is absolutely off the charts, capable of crushing bones that would challenge much larger predators. Here's what makes sun bears truly terrifying: they're natural-born guerrilla fighters. A sun bear can literally climb up a tree and drop onto a larger predator's back like some kind of furry assassin, using gravity and those razor-sharp claws as weapons. They've been documented taking down tigers this way, actual tigers, by ambushing them from above. The hierarchy gets even more complex when we factor in terrain and circumstances. Polar bears become unstoppable forces in water, using their superior swimming abilities and massive bulk to literally drown opponents. They can hold their breath for 2 minutes while grappling underwater, a terrifying advantage that turns any river or lake into their personal arena. Grizzlies rule absolutely on open ground where their raw power and aggression can be fully unleashed. Their fighting style is pure brutality. They rear up on hind legs to gain height advantage, then come crashing down with enough force to shatter spines. Those massive claws aren't just for digging, they're perfectly designed to rake open arteries and tear through thick fur and flesh. Black bears excel in dense forests where maneuverability and intelligence matter more than raw strength. They use trees as shields, forcing larger opponents into awkward positions where size becomes a disadvantage rather than an asset. Here's the kicker that changes everything: most bear fights never actually happen in the wild. Bears are incredibly intelligent creatures with complex social hierarchies, and they can assess each other's strength, health, and fighting capability through body language, scent marking, and elaborate posturing rituals. Real combat only occurs when the stakes are literally life or death, usually involving high-value food sources or protecting cubs. When fights do happen, they follow patterns that would surprise most people. The aggressor usually wins, regardless of size. Bears that initiate combat have already calculated their chances and committed to the fight mentally. The defender, caught off guard, starts at a massive psychological disadvantage. But here's the most shocking revelation that flips everything on its head: the bear most likely to win any fight isn't determined by species, size, or even fighting ability. It's the hungriest one. A starving 300-pound bear will fight with more desperation, fury, and absolute commitment than a well-fed 800-pound grizzly. Hunger transforms any bear into a killing machine that fights like its very existence depends on the outcome, because it literally does. Starvation triggers something primal in bears that overrides their natural caution and self-preservation instincts. They become willing to take enormous risks and sustain serious injuries for access to food. This desperate hunger has been documented turning normally peaceful black bears into creatures capable of driving off much larger grizzlies through sheer ferocity. The environmental factor adds another layer of complexity. A polar bear on sea ice is virtually unbeatable, but that same bear on rocky terrain loses most of its advantages. A grizzly in thick brush can be outmaneuvered by a smaller, more agile opponent. Context is everything in determining the winner. Temperature plays a crucial role too. Polar bears overheat quickly in warm conditions, while sun bears become sluggish in cold weather. The time of year, recent feeding success, injury status, and even the presence of cubs can completely alter the dynamics of any potential encounter. The truth about bear supremacy isn't about raw power, massive size, or fearsome reputation. It's about motivation, environmental advantages, tactical intelligence, and the willingness to commit everything to the fight. In the wild, the smartest bear with the most to gain or lose usually emerges victorious, not necessarily the biggest or strongest one. And sometimes, the bear that truly wins is simply the one wise enough to recognize when walking away is the better strategy than engaging in potentially lethal combat. So who would win in the ultimate bear showdown? The answer depends entirely on circumstances, but one thing is certain: whichever bear wants victory more desperately will probably be the one left standing.